What's up, peeps? This is the Eben Flow podcast. It's me, your guy, the ex-NFL football player turned yogi, Eben Britton. It's good to be with you guys. So today, going to do the intro a little bit different. Got a great episode lined up for you. I will introduce the guest in a moment. But before I do that, I'm going to change it up a little bit here. And I'm going to tell you about our fantastic sponsor, my good friends over at Bioptimizers. Did you know that sleep has been scientifically studied and perhaps proven to be the most important aspect of maintaining good health? For example, one study in 2017 found that lack of sleep could produce effects similar to being drunk. A quote from the researcher, "We discovered that starving the body of sleep also robs neurons of the ability to function properly. This leads to cognitive lapses in how we perceive and react to the world around us." Can't have that, guys. The longer you go without proper sleep, the more impaired you'll be. After 48 hours without sleep, you may experience micro-sleeps before periods of time when you'll black out for up to 30 seconds. After 72 hours without sleep, you may begin to hallucinate. Now, we all know I'm a fan of hallucinating, but not due to lack of sleep. Guys, it's critical. It's critical for our health, mental, physical, spiritual, emotional well-being to get good sleep. And the best product I know of on the market for enhancing your quality of sleep is magnesium. And not just any magnesium. Mag Breakthrough from Bioptimizers. Magnesium Breakthrough. It's a fantastic product. It's a blend of 7 different types of magnesium. This is really what sets it apart from all the other magnesiums out there. I tell you what, guys, I've never taken a better, perhaps a better product in my life, honestly. I've been a big fan of magnesium, but this one just smokes all the other products I've ever tried. It's fantastic. And guess what? Today, you can head over to magbreakthrough.com/ebenflow. All of this will be in the show notes, of course, and you can get 10% off your next order of Magnesium Breakthrough. Highly recommend it. It's the ultimate. If you guys are like me and your total well-being is of the utmost importance, you know what I'm talking about. This product will help optimize your health. Promise you. So check it out. All of that's in the show notes, magbreakthrough.com/ebenflow to get 10% off your next order. All right, y'all. Isn't advertising funny? It's completely destroyed television and media, most media. Podcasts, a little bit different. It's the last bastion of hope and truth that we have, y'all. That's why I choose to align myself only with companies that align with my message and my way of being. Bioptimizers, they're a great one. I love to support them, and I'm so grateful to have their support. So, on to the stuff you've been waiting for. This episode is with a complete mad scientist of the fitness world, of the life science world. His name is Dr. John Jaquish. He's a mastermind. He created OsteoStrong, which is a practice. He'll tell you the story, but it's fantastic, incredible how this guy applies science to exercise and really maximizing your benefits in your workout. So very cool. He has a product that after OsteoStrong, he developed another product called the X3 bar, which I'm a huge fan of. I am, if I can, I'm working out a deal to get you guys a little bit of a deal on it. It is one of the best pieces of equipment I've ever used when it comes to resistance training. It's fantastic. You might have seen me post about it. We talk about it, why it is so effective, how this type of training works, and we have a good time. He's a very high functioning individual, and we had a lot of laughs and dove deep. It's not just about fitness and well-being. We go into the cultural swamp and we take a look around. It was a lot of fun, and I appreciate him. I think you guys will enjoy it. That's about it, folks. That's about it, folks. Till next time, I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Have an epic week. Lots of love to you all. Standing in your truth and your power. The world needs you. I'll see y'all on the flip side. Enjoy.
You have unlocked the eternal link to internal source. The key of imagination, your admission. Access to the enlightened dimension. A gateway at the junction of darkness and light. The place at which the chaos of our conditioned frame of mind give way to a life in constant flux, only to be mastered through vigilant discipline. Peaceful times may come, testing times may go. This is the ebb and flow.
What's up, peeps? Welcome to the Ebb and Flow podcast. I'm stoked about this guest we have today, Dr. John Jaquish, the mad scientist of the fitness world, and I mean even bigger than that, maybe the health and well-being strata. Well, hey man, it's great to have you here. I'm really excited for this conversation. And let's jump right into it, man. Your latest book, Weightlifting is a Waste of Time. Before I let you talk, though, I have to say, as a former pro football player, I'm always highly skeptical of anyone or anything that comes in and says you could get a great workout in under 30 minutes.
Totally.
And I really just, something drew me to the X3, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But dude, it's fucking mind-blowing. The results.
Yeah.
I'm the leanest I've ever been. I'm the strongest I've ever been. And I back that up because when I've traveled and all I have access to are weights, I go into the gym with the weights. And it's like throwing around baby rattles. It's crazy. You know, I'm the strongest I've ever been. I'm the leanest I've ever been. I'm probably in the best shape of my life after, 15 years in football at 260. And it's a testament to you, man, and the work you do. And I appreciate everything you do and the wisdom you share. And let's get into it, brother. Weightlifting is a waste of time.
So, I mean, I could start at a couple of different places, but ultimately, the first thing I did, the reason I got into life sciences in the first place was my mother. She was diagnosed with osteoporosis. And she didn't want to take any of the medications, and I read the side effects of the medications, and they were pretty bad. So I thought, well, like osteoporosis is a dysfunction of deconditioning of the bone. So why don't we recondition it? And apparently, like, independent thinking is now becoming illegal or some shit. I don't know. Yeah, like, I mean, like that, like just that alone, like that's when I say that everyone's like, no, that makes sense. Right. Yeah. Except when I did it like people were like, it was like heresy. And so I developed a prototype that emulated high impact forces. So like, think of what a gymnast gets when they hit the ground. So sometimes beyond 10 times body weight. But I developed a medical device, and they're now found in OsteoStrong clinics. There's 150 clinics in 8 different countries right now. And what we do is just emulate high impact, but we take the risk out of it. So it's very controlled. So basically your own comfort is the throttle to how much force goes through the bone mass. And so compresses bone from end to end. So like, from right here on the humerus bone, from like the elbow joint to the shoulder joint, and then compression on its axis. So it worked outrageously well. It worked for my mother. Like within 18 months, she had the bones of a 30-year-old, and she was in her 70s at the time. So no more osteoporosis, nothing to worry about. And the effect of this device lasts 30 years in the body. So,
Wow.
well, yeah, it was totally awesome, and it totally made sense. And I still got a lot of pushback. The fortunate thing about medical doctors is you show them the evidence, and they're on board.
Sure.
So you just got to get the opportunity to show them the evidence, because they
Right.
get hit up with so much stupid crap that they don't want to listen. So once I get them to okay, just give me 5 minutes, and then they're like, oh wow, that sounds great. So during the clinical trial, which I did in London, it was done through the British government. When I did it,
sorry,
yeah,
John, did you do it through the British government just because it's such hell to do it in America, or was there any? Was that just the most convenient pathway, or what?
I hate saying yes, but yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just an American university, a single university, had more red tape than the NHS, the National Health Services. Now, I had somebody who was interested in being a principal investigator at University of East London. It was Basil Hunt. He did a great job. He's a clinical psychologist. But he noticed, as I was testing the device, that it had major psychological implications, because when you take somebody...
This is the OsteoStrong device.
Yeah, this
has
is the
psychological implications.
Yeah, because when people are at the age where they're more likely to be osteoporotic, or just looking at the people we were working with at the time, 50 plus, postmenopausal, and some older men too, but for the most part, those people felt like their health was out of control. They felt that it was a very frustrating subject. In this device, because they could actually see the changes in their functional bone performance from 1 week to the next, it totally gave them this feeling that they had complete control over their bodies, because there was major changes happening. And I was like, wow, that's spectacular. So this study was very inspiring to me, because it looked at a couple of things I wasn't really looking at. I learned a lot. And then I was looking at some of the forces, and this was an all-female study, because osteoporosis is predominantly a female bone dysfunction. So when going through this, one of the test subjects, who was actually a physician at the hospital, so we had physicians, patients, both hospital. She says to me, "What do normal people who exercise lift? Because we're lifting like hundreds or even like over 1,000 pounds." And so I'm like, yeah, it's a great question. I know the answer is out there. So I looked at the NAINS database, which is a database that's maintained by the National Institute of Health. They had 2,000 people per year, and there's a whole battery of questions and tests, blood pressure, VO2 max, all kinds of stuff, bone density, and then what people do with exercise. So it turns out that beginners in weightlifting lift 1.3 times their body weight, and advanced weightlifters, now probably you and I are not included in the average here, we'd be outliers, but it was 1.53 times their body weight. Now, when you load up a leg sled, most of the weight is actually going into the ground, and most people don't know that. So like you meet somebody, it's like, oh yeah, I leg press, 1,000 pounds. Like, no, you don't. Right? No. But it's like, if you could squat 1,000 pounds, that's the thing.
That's something. Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to be on TV.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Leg press, no. So, yeah, I mean, there's no awards for winning a race on training wheels either. Yeah, so, exactly. So I looked at these things, and so I was looking at actual loading going into the body. So I thought, not only does that sound weak, it's nothing even close to what these people were doing with the OsteoStrong devices, going 5, 6, 7 times their body weight, even 9 times their body weight, a couple of women. And so, and these are women who have
Right.
never exercised a day in their life. And after 6 months, they're using 9 times their body weight.
It's amazing.
And so now, granted, they're only using the impact ready range of motion. So the range of motion might have been an inch, and the range came from compression of bone.
Huh.
But it was just at that sort of end of the movement, the 120-degree angle behind the knee, where you're absolutely optimized. And then it diminishes greatly from there to the weaker range. And I thought, wow, like, we are so powerful in the impact ready range of motion. And we are so weak in our weaker range of motion, you know, where our joints are at risk of damage because more load goes into the joint. The muscle is more like a bundle of shoestrings at that point. It doesn't really do anything.
Right.
So I just, you know, I said kind of casually, we were sitting in a conference room in the hospital, and I said, weightlifting's a waste of time. You know, everybody kind of slowly looked over at me like, kind of is, isn't it? Because I'm explaining what I'm finding in the data. And so I knew I had to develop something. And I thought about writing a book about just band training. But the problem with band training is you wrap a band around your hand and you throw it around your back and you go to do a push-up. Your hands are outwardly rotating and it's twisting your wrists. Same thing with standing on a band. You twist your ankles. The wrists and the ankles are our interface points to everything we do. So
good.
We got to protect him. So I needed a second ground to stand on where the bands could move freely underneath. And I needed an Olympic bar, which would rotate without changing where the load's coming from. I mean, I got it right here. So, I mean, I can rotate my hands and move this thing around, but you see this always stays parallel to the ground. So that's what I needed to do. And I prototyped it. Well, no, first I kind of wrote it up and I showed it to a bunch of people, a bunch of really smart people, and they were like, "Don't do this. This is a terrible idea. This is not going to work.
Why?
It's not going to work better than way." Like they were athletes and strength coaches, and they were very much tied into what they've been taught. And
Olympic lifts and get strong, throwing weight around.
Well, and you know, it makes you wonder, like, how much shit do we believe about everything and anything? How about our government? And then we find out, like, oh wow, like for 200 years we believed that, you know, it was really the people running this place.
Right.
You know, I don't want to get conspiracy theory, but there have been a lot of disappointments. When it comes to some discoveries about how things happen. And you know, when it comes to the human body, if we're told the same thing 1,000 times, we may believe it's true, but that doesn't mean it is. So and I mean, I didn't want to do this. I already had a successful business in the bone density and OsteoStrong. So I'm sitting there, I think I had a headache behind my right eye for like a month. Just thinking, because I knew it was going to be like you see the last Mad Max with
dude.
I knew it was going to be like Mad Max. I was going to be Max, the only guy who knows how any fucking thing works, and it was just going to be like absolute brain dead, like biker psychos who are like naked with axes chasing me.
Yeah.
Like, because I knew what was in the fitness industry. It just like, God damn it, I really didn't want to do that. Because I knew they were dumb as hell. And I mean, nobody here, I'm going to tell you about your favorite study that you don't yet know about, and you will quote this at the next party you go to.
I love
it's
it.
called Dunning-Kruger, 1999. It tested people's intelligence, their ability to perform tasks. And then it had them do a self-assessment. And there had never been a study like this before. And this is a broad population study, so thousands of people. So it turns out that the smartest people slightly underrated themselves. Not by much, but they were like, oh, yeah, I mean, I might not have gotten everything, but I think I did pretty good. So, they would get 100% and they would rate themselves at 90%.
Mm.
But the dumbest people,
Oh, God.
they rated themselves at 100%. They believed they were the most competent people. Oh, yeah. This is why the bottom 20th percentile and below, bottom 20th percentile of intelligence are not allowed in the U.S. military.
Mm.
Because they'll shoot themselves in the foot. They'll shoot their, fellow soldier in the back. I mean, these people are wildly, dangerously unintelligent. And so, and I remember reading all this stuff, and I read the Dunning-Kruger study when it came out in 1999, and I almost fell out of my chair laughing. I was like, where are all these idiots? And then I found them. Mm. They're on bodybuilding.com.
Oh, God.
So it's it was very interesting developing the X3 and then launching it. And I don't actually target a fitness audience. I target busy professionals, people who actually read the science,
Yes.
Or I mean, like what you did, you read enough, because I remember your first message to me. You're like, this thing is totally intriguing.
Yeah.
Well, you found it intriguing. You saw more than just a picture.
Yeah.
Right. Like you understood it. Like you're like, oh, it delivers force where I'm stronger, so it exhausts the muscle more. I mean, this is the high level. What is it? Like it lets you train heavier with more repetitions, so you get greater exhaustion and far greater growth. Yeah. That's all it does.
Yeah. Oh my God, dude, it's hilarious, man. Did we need that study though to know that?
No, I mean, we didn't know. I mean, we didn't. But I'm also a scientist, so I like.
Right.
I don't like giving my opinion, because when somebody gets mad at me for something I say, it's like, why don't you call Dunning-Kruger and tell them they were wrong? Why don't you call the journal? Like somebody got an argument with me the other day. Actually, I get in this argument like usually it's
every day.
But yeah, there's one thing like testosterone replacement therapy. Apparently, people don't know what the word replacement means. Because like someone will be like it looks like you take a lot of TRT. It's like, okay, you know what replacement means, then there is no application for the word a lot.
Right.
Replacement is replacement. It's replacing what's supposed to be there, which is a known quantity.
Right.
Like,
and it's not there.
These fucking people, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
dude.
God bless you, man. Hey, dude, we gotta have we need the fucking pioneers, man. How about this, John? We live in a fucking world where people are talking about pumping their fists in the air saying science is real. Yet every time you give them some science, they're like, no, not that. That's not real.
Right.
That's not real.
But when it comes to the virus, it's like, we want to listen to doctors. Oh, but not those doctors.
Yeah, not that guy.
Yeah, not that guy. Not any of the people who disagree with the doctor we like.
Right.
Oh,
that guy. Yeah, okay. Oh, I see.
Yeah, we live in an amazing time where people are absolutely thrilled with contrived information that's obviously falsified, and they're just banging the war drum, celebrating it. It's unbelievable. Like,
oh my God, not to get too derailed. No. I mean, not to get too derailed in that, man. But what's your take on that? Is this because I've heard some people I really respect say we're in this temper tantrum phase of human evolution, of conscious evolution. And everyone's like, and I see it, everyone's just like holding on by their fingernails to their little identity of who they are and what I believe in, and it's all crumbling, and they're just screaming at the top of their lungs to be heard and seen and acknowledged.
Veganism kind of thing, right?
Yeah, and it's just like, dude, when are we just gonna fucking let go?
Yeah, how about let's get back to work?
Yeah, man. Like, this thing is really, this thing is just so. John, you're the man, bro.
Yeah,
you're the man.
When my friends call me, they're like, "How's Clown World?"
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, it's still Clown World.
Yeah, exactly, dude.
Yeah, actually, some of these bodybuilders who, can't read a word, jump to every conclusion that's just wrong, don't know a thing about physiology, but don't mind pretending to be the absolute foremost expert in the world. Like, I think those guys are actually even smarter than some of the people who, and I have a theory here. I think you're going to like this one. I think we have a receptor site in our brain, and that's a metaphor, not an actual receptor site, but we have something where we need some sort of religious devotion. We need blind faith in something. And the reason I think that is because every society that's been discovered by the society that documented said society had a religion. They had a god. They had a system of rules that was given to them by the supernatural. And they're all very similar, which tells me, and they didn't do anything else similar. Like some societies use forks and knives. Some use chopsticks. Some, went to war with clubs. Some, had symbolic war with one representative from one village and another representative from another village. And they fought to the death. Seems better than everybody dying. Like ultimately, the thing they all had in common was a sort of religious devotion. But because we have stepped so far away from that, I think that people still need to satisfy that need. Therefore, they assign blind faith to crazy fucking ideas. Like, veganism is a
huge one.
Yeah. It's just like veganism is going to go down in history when clearer minds are writing history and allowed to write science again. It's going to go down in history with anorexia and bulimia. It's just malnutrition.
Wow.
Yeah, based on like false promises. By the way, farming vegetables kills 7 billion animals a year. Like poisoned birds and gophers and shot deer that get into vineyards. I used to watch. I lived across from a vineyard when I was in high school, and I had a nice mountainside view of this vineyard. And every time I saw a deer running around, it was only about 15 or 20 minutes. Boom. Okay. Yeah, I guess let's go ask for some venison.
Yeah. Exactly.
So yeah, like that's just the way it was. That's the cycle of life. Any species that is expanding is going to take resources from another species and kill it. There's nothing we can do to avoid that. Like if we're going to have an expanding species, which is, Henry Kissinger had that. He wrote that nice paper about how we need to limit the population. People found it very disturbing. But what he was saying is, eventually we're going to run out of resources.
Right.
Smart guy. Like, he can do the math on a big scale. He was like, yeah. Maybe we should look at birth rates. Anyway, something to think about.
A lot to think about, man.
Yeah.
I'm reading this book. Have you read the book, The Secret History of the World by Mark Booth?
Yes.
Dude, and so something you just said, which I just read last night. In ancient Egypt, there was Amenhotep III, the pharaoh, and he was getting ready to die. And his wife, Queen T or T-I-Y, I'm not exactly sure. She had given birth to 3 daughters. Amenhotep was about to die. Finally, somehow, by some miracle, she gave birth to their son, Akhenaten. And Akhenaten had this, actually had a genetic defect where he had very hermaphroditic qualities.
Yeah, I remember.
Womanly thighs, long, like feminine face. And Akhenaten took control, became the pharaoh, and totally changed the culture. Took it from a worshiping of many gods where spirituality was an individual experience with God, and made it a monotheistic culture, moved the capital of Egypt to this other place. He basically cut himself off from the priesthood and said, I'm the only one that can communicate with Aten, the sun disk god, and I'm the only channel of wisdom here. And basically the priests ended up fucking killing him. and put into
Oh
place.
yeah, he took away their power. They didn't like that.
Yeah, they didn't like that, and so they put into place King Tut, and moved the capital back to where it was, which was like somewhere Giza or somewhere in there.
Yeah.
But it was really interesting reading this book, man, because I realized how throughout history we've had this really intense, humanity has had this really intense thing of worshiping false idols, diving wholeheartedly into this materialistic way of being, only to find it completely insustainable and having to completely go back, as Terence McKenna would say, to the archaic revival, go back to nature, go back to worshiping spirits being all around and the truth, the absolute truth of God.
There's many cycles of this.
Yeah, dude. And like
Europe,
that's like
Europe has had like multiple identifiable cycles.
Yes.
Like it's like religion, not religion, decadence versus poverty.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and for some reason the richer you get, the smarter you think you are.
It's so
I don't know
really so I mean just in a it's so relatable to today because people are just completely bought in on these false paradigms.
Right.
It's like, for what? To keep you comfortable and to keep your life convenient?
So there's an article, I think this was in Style magazine, and ladies, if you're listening, I'm not picking on you, you can look it up. But it said 56% of left-leaning women have mental illness. A diagnosable mental illness, and the article said it really had to do with commitment to some of these ideas that just don't make sense. Like this article referred to the commitment to equality. The problem is you'll never have equality.
Right.
Like it's impossible. Somebody will always be better looking than another person. Somebody will always be taller. Somebody will always work harder. You can take two identical twins. One guy works harder, he's going to make more money in one way or another.
Right.
Right. Like, I mean, even in communist Soviet Union, like the guys who worked hard were pulled into the government.
Right.
Yeah, the government's like, oh, that guy busts his ass. Like, give him a little bit more money, give him a nice uniform, and he can, anybody has a problem with him, he can just beat the shit out of him. Okay, because that's not a hierarchy.
Right.
Right. It's like, we're never going to have hierarchies again, and we're going to do that by applying a brutal hierarchy.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
Nobody's allowed to speak their truth. Only listen to the government.
Right. Well, I mean, this nightmare has been going on and off forever.
I know, dude.
Yeah, and fascism has its cycles too.
Absolutely, all of it, right? I mean, it all comes in cycles. And here we are, all the social media tyrants. I mean, how far away are we from burning books and shit? I mean,
I don't. When a video gets deleted by YouTube, that's a book burning, dude.
That's a book burn.
Same thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But you see, they kind of play themselves because every time they do that, somebody's like, "Well, what are they trying to hide?" And then there's always another guy who put it on BitChute or somewhere else, and like I don't know, the most controversial videos, I've definitely seen them all. And I understand why they wanted to get rid of that. Yeah. Right. It doesn't fit the narrative.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I feel like nothing can escape the internet, no matter how hard they try. I mean, the internet is this.
I hope that remains true.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
but dude,
like, if Jack Dorsey's listening, he's planning on it not being true.
He's trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
But to me, you've created the internet. I forget the guy's name who created it, but
Vinton Cerf.
Yes, and he, we manifested a digital collective consciousness.
That's right.
And
sounds great until
the Pandora's box gets open.
Right. Well, I think also, like in the beginning, the idea was everyone will have a voice, And now that we've heard everyone's voice, it's like, take it away. Take it away.
Not everybody needs to have a voice.
No.
But, I mean, how do you feel about that, John? Because at one point, I mean, to some extent, it's like, fuck, there's a lot of people who we don't really need to hear their opinion. But on the slippery slope, it's like we got to hear everybody's. If we're going to limit voices, I'd much rather just hear everyone's voice than to start silencing voices.
Right. Yeah, it's either open or it's, kind of like it was before, where the only people we heard from. Now, it was really weird because when we were kids, we only heard from like the people who were on the news, and they were somehow qualified, I suppose.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. I was a kid. I didn't really check their credentials or what they did, or what political groups they belonged to, or if they subscribed to a communist newspaper. Whatever. Like I didn't know any of that. But they seem to present both sides of the story and be kind of impartial. Now, I don't remember the author's name of this particular study, but it was a survey study of journalism students, and it asked them why they got into journalism. The overwhelming majority, and this was maybe 6 years ago or 7 years ago, overwhelming majority of journalism students said that the reason they got into journalism was to change the world. That's not the job.
Right.
That's profoundly not the job. I mean, imagine a referee in sports. He's like, I want to become a referee so I want
to change the
end
sport.
Games that I bet on. It's like, you're fucking out of here, dude. Fuck you. How'd you get this far?
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
well, John, wasn't the initial responsibility or purpose of journalism, the media, the news, was to keep the government and corporations honest?
That's right. Keep the government honest.
I mean, where the fuck are we now, dude?
Dude, I don't even know who's the dog and who's the tail. Because
exactly,
I'm wondering, like, it seems an awful lot like journalists are actually running this country. And, like whoever is in power is just like, oh, okay, we'll do that.
Yeah.
Like, because they've just got people whipped up so hard. I don't know.
But then my next question is, I was talking to my brother about this the other day. Because to me, you walk out your front door, and the world is not what it is on the internet. At least where I go, where I live. You know, like
it's
if
really
the world,
weird. People get along. People are friends with everybody of every different race, and have been for a long time. Yeah,
don't care about your political affiliation at all.
No. Like most people I meet, you like something politics, and they're like, who's president?
Yeah, what?
It's not.
Who cares?
It's not the orange guy anymore, is it? Somebody else. I don't know. Like an old man. I don't know. Like nobody cares. Also, like you play in the NFL. Like, is there any racism?
No.
Fuck no.
Oh my god.
No. Like, I mean, it's like you.
That's exiled, dude. Like that's not tolerated. And
it wasn't tolerated like before we were born either.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like the assholes get ejected no matter where they are.
Hell yeah. They do.
Right. And hateful assholes get ejected.
Yeah. They don't even make it to the NFL. So they usually open their mouth in like college or something, and they're like, okay.
Yeah. We're going to beat the shit out of you in the fucking shower, and then you'll never come back again. Yeah,
well, street justice is still justice.
No doubt, dude.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Like, well, I mean, that's how the animal kingdom does it. They don't have a police force, but when one animal does something that wrongs another animal, the rest of the herd, they kind of give them a horn. You can't do that.
Yeah,
that's how it works.
Yeah, man. Man, we really went deep here, dude. I wanted to talk about the X3.
No, we can jump right back in X3.
Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So the X3, dude. Just shifting back into it, and I'm sure we'll trip back into the cultural insanity in a moment. But
naturally,
first of all, I love how you your experience creating the X3 was a firsthand look into an insane culture or an insane world or a programmed and conditioned way of being.
Right.
Man, like I said, I grew up lifting weights. I grew up training really hard. 2 hours in the gym, fucking busting my ass.
Yep.
Pumping iron. Loved it. Feel like I got a lot out of it, as far as an athlete, but I get my hands on this X3, and first of all, I love the whole thing. I love the steel platform. I love that you got the mini Olympic bar. Because to me, that's really what band training was missing, like you said earlier. You're standing on a band.
You can't really get a good work. Like, ultimately, if you're going to get stronger, there's no escaping heavy.
Yes.
And if you're going to go heavy, you got to protect the small bones in your body. You got to protect your wrists and your ankles.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And so with the X3, I'm getting insane resistance. Insane amounts of resistance. Oh, yeah.
Way more repetitions, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I'm fucking, not in pain. Like, I've had shoulder surgery, back surgery. Yeah. I've got fucked up hips and all the shit. But, dude, it keeps me getting stronger and stronger without any hiccups with, a tweaked shoulder, a bad elbow. You know what I mean? And
the normal setbacks are gone. There are no setbacks anymore.
Exactly.
That's right.
Exactly.
I just did a workout with Terrell Owens, who's been a longtime user of X3, and he's still phenomenally fast. I don't know what his 40 time is now. He doesn't know because he's not having anybody radar gunning him right now.
Yeah, of
course.
But
still absolute great shape, and he says, "I'm stronger and I have no pain." And he says that tells me I can do this forever. And he goes, "I plan on being." And he's really impressed with himself. He's like, I'm in incredible shape. And he's like, I plan on staying in incredible shape. I love it. Nothing has changed.
I love that, dude.
Yeah.
No, it's amazing. It's amazing. It's transformative, dude. COVID, fuck, whatever you want to say about it, it's transformed my relationship to training. Because before COVID, I was going to the gym.
Yep.
I'd be at the gym for 2 hours. It'd take up a big chunk of my day. I'd come home, do the thing. Now, dude, I get fucking 10 to 20 minutes and I'm fucking smoked. I've got a great pump. I feel incredible. I feel energized. I feel like I just got my blood flowing and like every body part is exhausted.
Yeah.
It's amazing, dude. And I do that in 10 to 20 minutes, and now I have so much more time for my day, do a podcast, get my writing done, whatever it is I got to do.
You don't have to drive anywhere like you do.
I don't have to fucking go anywhere. I got this one piece of equipment, It's awesome.
Yeah. I'm going to do, I got to get to this graduation party later today for a friend of mine's kids graduating from high school. And so, it's like, well, where do I fit my workout in? I like to have it, and I talk about this in the book, The Hyperplasia Protocol, where I take a vasodilator, do my workout, and then a little bit of carbohydrates, and then I stretch, so you can actually split the muscle cells by doing this. There's I have 30 clinical references in this piece of the book. It's towards the end of the book. But because I can take X3 anywhere, people are like, "Oh, did you bring your X3 on this trip?" It's like, "Hey, does Thor travel without his hammer?" No, I got it right in the trunk of my car.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
No, it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome, dude. So basically what it comes down to is giving you the most resistance in your strong places.
Right. And lowering the resistance where you'd more likely injure.
Right. And that, what do you call it? The variable resistance.
Right.
And moves.
There's 16 studies on variable resistance. And one of them, and it's the last one I refer to in the book, is shows that the higher degree of variance, this should have been obvious, but nothing's obvious in science. You got to test it and you got to prove it.
Uh-huh.
So it showed the higher degree of variance is the most powerful stimulus. So you can almost offload completely the weaker range of motion. Like in a squat, it's my body weight at the bottom, and it's my body weight plus 600 pounds at the top.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I can deliver load on a curve. The force comes on a curve that is extremely similar to my force production curve. So that's why you can end up training with more weight, do more repetitions, go to a greater level of fatigue, and trigger more growth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought it was really fascinating too on that, because when I first got it, I was like, I'm just going to fuck around with this thing and get my bearings with it. And I would do like a few sets, but I was like, this isn't right. And then I watched your video and you talk about doing one set to failure. And I was like, yes, that makes sense. And then I started doing that, and the whole
too
thing.
Intense to do more than one set. You do one set,
dude. I was blown out. I was blown out.
Yeah. Terrell said that was the hardest part. The hardest part wasn't using it. The hardest part was like after he was done, he's like, well, I want to do it again. And then so I tried it a couple times, and then I realized after I went to complete fatigue in one set, I really couldn't do another set.
Yeah. Talk about why that's important and the difference there. I mean, when you go in and you're in a typical weight training regimen, you're doing, 3 to 5 sets of something, of each exercise. And with the X3, you can come in, you hit one set to failure of each exercise. Yeah. And you're getting, I don't know, 2x, 3 times the results, the benefits.
Sure. Probably like
3 times.
Yeah, well,
X3.
I mean, I called it X3 because there was a study that showed that people using variable resistance got 3 times stronger compared to the other group who just used regular weights. I don't think people really got that, and we're kind of going away from that triple the gains thing, because does it really make you 3 times stronger? Does it give you triple the gains? No, it's way more than that, because most people who lived, also, the stronger you are, the less likely you are to proceed at all with weights. Yeah, because you're loading the joint more, and the joints don't adapt very well. Not like the muscle does. So it's like you got a strong curve of muscle growth, but it stops at a certain level. So the stronger you are, the more joint risk you have. And so that ends up usually being where people are like, well, I mean, maybe this is just as strong as I'm ever going to get or whatever. No, that's not true. Yeah. It's where you're limited based on the way you're loading the body. There's a better way, and it's with variable resistance. Now, it has to be the appropriate ratio of resistance. So, like in a 1 rep maximum, you are 7 times more powerful in the stronger range of motion than you are on the weaker. But, we want a repetition scheme. So it's got to be less than a 7-to-1 ratio. So we kind of average out at like a 5-to-1 ratio. But also, you say that to the average lifter and they're like, ratio? Like, how do I set that up on a bar? And I'm like, I don't know, dude. Sounds like a pain in the ass. It sounds like a calculator and a lot of head scratching and, a bunch of weights just sitting on the floor around you and bands. And or you could just get X3, because I did all that math already. And I put it into a product. Now, I mean, obviously for people who are like I'm 6 feet tall, but like when I did a workout with, when I do workouts with Andre Drummond, who's 7 feet tall. In fact, I think he might be like 7'1" or something. He's plays for the Detroit Pistons. He's awesome. Yeah. And he's so much taller. Like he was like bummed out he couldn't use the same band. He's like, I'm a really strong guy. Why can't I use the same band as you? And then like he kind of stopped himself. He's like, oh, because I'm stretching it further. Right. So you get way more force the longer you stretch it, but that's not a limitation or a problem. That just is. You're taller. Right. So, right. So, like, and everybody gets the loading they get, and they progress from there. Yeah.
It's awesome, dude. Yeah. So the one set to failure, in my mind, it makes sense because it's you're triggering this massive hormetic response. Is that correct?
So it is correct. And what I would say to people is like, okay, when you go to get a suntan, how many sets do you do in the sun to get a suntan?
Right.
What? What are you talking about? Like, you just go outside.
Yeah.
Right. You have one stimulus, and one stimulus, especially when the light is the brightest, which might be like 4th of July if you live in the United States. So you go outside on 4th of July with no sunblock on for like 10 minutes, and then you put sunblock on, you'll get a tan. Right? So 10-minute single stimulus. Not, you don't have to go in and then rest your skin and then go out again and then rest your skin and then get right. Like, the fact that we do multiple sets is a perfect explanation of how poor the stimulus is.
Yeah.
Like, weightlifting is just not a great stimulus. Like, there's a better way to trigger your muscles to grow and for you to be stronger, and a much lower risk way. So I tell even powerlifters who really it's like heresy to them. You know,
Right.
Again, we're getting back to the societal, like, I've got to believe in something with a religious devotion sort of thing. And the powerlifter's like, well, I mean, I lift weights. It's like, okay, well, what you do in competition, is that exactly what you do in training? And they're like, no. Well, right, there you go. So you do your training with X3. You also have to keep in practice the movement of the barbell, because that's a skill. Know the difference between skills and strength.
Yeah.
Right? Like, when somebody's holding the barbell over their head, that they had to use momentum to get there, that is a skill, just like a golf swing or something highly technical.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it's like, you got to keep the skill, but if you want to grow muscle, just use X3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
You keep upping your weight because you're stronger.
Right.
Like, you're not getting stronger, you're stronger.
Yeah.
So you can up your weight and just maintain the skill.
I love that, man.
Yeah.
Do you have a time? I've got to get the book. I got to get a copy of the book because I really want to read it.
I'll send you one.
That'd be awesome. Do you have a time that you like to use yours? Is there a time in the day that's most beneficial?
Great question. I kind of just made this public yesterday, and there were a lot of people with a lot of questions. So I'm doing, and you know what I mean by that. I'm doing some experimenting with dry fasting. And I've really come to some great conclusions. So I eat one meal a day, and pretty much have for the last 4 years. Now,
is that pretty carnivore? Esque?
Yeah, there's no room in my intestines for anything else. I need the nutrients. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I eat one meal a day, and then I dry fast for 20 hours a day. So no food, no liquids, 20 hours a day. Then when that 4-hour window shows up where I can eat and drink, I typically rehydrate myself with about 1 liter of water. And then I mix my Fortigen in that. That's the bacterial fermentation product. It's like the best protein that's ever existed. And so I take my Fortigen in about 1 liter of water, and then I do my workout. And then, after another half an hour, I might eat my one meal. Yeah, I usually try and time it around dinner. So like 4 to 8 is that's my hydration and food window. Yeah.
And you're getting your lift in, or you're getting your X3 in the late afternoon then?
Yeah.
Wow, dude.
Yeah.
That's Spartan. That's some Spartan shit right there, dude.
Yeah, it works. It doesn't interrupt my life. I know I'm going to eat dinner every day.
Right.
So
what are the benefits of the dry fasting in juxtaposition to a water fast or a liquid fast?
So I figured this out in high school when I was wrestling. I was not big enough to play football. I was a really small kid, and so I wrestled, and I was like 130-pound weight class, and so I noticed that we would dry fast all the time to make weight, because I'd try and put on muscle, and then I'd have to drop down to, and I think you had to be like 129 or something,
Crazy.
like on the dot or lower to make that weight class.
Yep.
And so I would be a little heavier because of muscle, but then I dehydrate myself over like 48-hour dry fast, like no food, no water. And I remember it was really weird. Like all through high school, I looked like a skinned cadaver. Like, there was every vein was visible all over my body. Like it looked like somebody drew the shadows underneath my muscles with like a Sharpie. Like I'd take my shirt off and people would be like, "What's on your back?" And I'm like, "Definition." I was pretty impressed with myself. But
I love that.
yeah, but it was from dry fasting. Like, and once I learned about dry fasting later on, which most of the research comes from Ramadan.
Right.
So Ramadan fasting, like you can't like a human ethics board in any Western country will not approve of a study where you're not letting people drink water.
Right.
However, when they do it for religious reasons, you can study them, which is why there's hundreds of studies on Ramadan fasting, and it shows massive fat loss. And here's the reason. So when you start to dry fast, the first time you do it, sort of like the first time you do a water fast, you kind of feel shitty. And, you're a little dry mouth and a little, just kind of low energy, cramps, muscles cramp.
Yes.
But then your body finds its own metabolic water. Now, we only have one tissue that's not vascular in our body fat. Every other tissue in your body has a purpose for being there. Body fat's just storage. It also stores water. So your body starts pulling water from those cells. So, like, for example, I haven't had anything to drink since like 8 last night. And no, I don't ever get dry mouth or anything anymore. But I know right now, like my mouth isn't dry. My eyes aren't dry. That's another thing. When you first start doing this, your eyes dry out. Because your body needs to become accustomed to going after metabolic water. Well, when it starts dehydrating these fat cells, they become destroyed. Like when you lose weight from caloric restriction or fasting, the fat cells shrink. But that also means, and people who they go on some starvation diet and then they start eating a normal diet and then they just put all the fat back on, or a lot of the fat back on. And people are like, "Oh, it's metabolic damage." No, there's no such thing as metabolic damage. It's bullshit. But when you have a lot of fat cells, because you were obese, you're going to have them unless you destroy them. And the way you destroy them is dry fasting.
Wow.
So the cell ends up actually exploding. Once it's so dehydrated, it can't function, so it just dissolves and gets into the bloodstream. And in fact, in the dry fast, your low density lipoprotein skyrockets. Your bad cholesterol, which is not bad anymore as of the last 10 years. I do not know why any physicians are writing statin prescriptions anymore, because the research tells them not to, yet they still
want to kill people.
Very yeah, I'm afraid of that. So so your cholesterol goes up, and it's because you're metabolizing only fat, and it's yours. Yeah, and so I've been progressively getting a lot leaner than I've ever been, which led me also to really understand I used to be a lot fatter than I thought I was. You know what I mean? People are like, "Oh, I got 5 pounds to lose," and now I hear people say that, and I'm like, "Yeah, I used to think that." Turns out I had like 45 pounds to lose. Didn't really understand that at all.
That's a mind blower, dude.
It's mind blowing. Yeah, people have a lot of body fat they don't understand, which is why we're accustomed to when we talk about body fat, we're accustomed to caliper measures. But then somebody does a DEXA scan, and there's research that compares the two, showing a 4% error in favor of the calipers. And by in favor, I mean in favor of the person using the calipers, because they don't want to know that they're actually 4% higher than they think they are. So somebody who's at like 9% probably thinks they're pretty badass. Turns out you're at 13, which is really spectacularly not badass. Yeah. I'm also the guy who tells people, yeah, that's not badass.
That's not that good.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, hey, dude, we need that. We need the reality.
Yeah. Well, they don't appreciate it, but I get a laugh.
Yeah, exactly, dude.
Yeah. But it's fine because the people who are conditioned to take criticism, they're like, awesome, dude. Well, I just want to get better. So what do I need to do?
Right.
And then, I tell them to read the book or just give them the advice they need. Yeah.
Oh, it's awesome, man.
I tell you what, here's one thing. Like your listeners will like this. When you talk to somebody who's morbidly obese, and they're like, "I need help," and I'm like, "Do you need help so you'll like do anything I tell you to do?" Because if your answer is, "Well, I'm not going to give up my pizza," or "Well, what about when I'm watching the game?" It's like, okay, you just lost.
You don't want it.
Yeah, you don't want it bad enough.
You don't.
And so they're like, "I'll do anything. I want a complete lifestyle change." Those people, like, as long as you talk to them with compassion, you can say, like, you need to cut this out, or, this is the result. You need to start looking at certain things as not food. Like, I look at a pizza. That's not food.
Right.
It's entertainment. It's not food.
Right.
It's sort of like, you can get married to a wonderful woman, or you can go see a stripper. It's not the same thing.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So just when you grow up and you're not an asshole anymore, you look at the stripper and you're like, nah, it's not a girl.
Yeah.
Not interested. Wife, yeah, that sounds great. We all end up there.
No doubt, man.
Yeah.
No doubt, dude. That's another trippy one, man. Seeing the people who are like fighting against obesity is not an illness, or it's not a bad thing.
Healthy at any size. Like, no, you're dying.
Yeah.
You got to tell them. Like, it's just like, and I'll tell people once I establish some rapport. I told the guy about a year ago, I'm like, you're not going to see your son graduate high school. He'll be dead before that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the guy. I mean, he's 300 plus pounds. It's not what he wanted to hear, but he's like, yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah.
It's like, tell me what to do. I'll do anything.
Yeah. I guess that's another attachment thing. It's another just clinging to your identity and wanting to be seen.
Yeah.
And
well, identities are excuses.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
dude.
like when
absolutely.
somebody's like, I'm this, it means you've gone thinking. And, and it's like, you ever notice, like, and we'll make fun of both sides here. Like, you meet somebody and they tell you that, they're conservative and they're wearing like camo and they've got like 3 NRA stickers on their car. And, they've got like a carnivore hat. And, and you're like, dude, you didn't need to get the starter pack.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you can just be you. It's fine. Everybody likes you already, I'm pretty sure. And then, on the other side of politics, it's like you meet somebody and it's like, oh, you have 11 cats and purple hair and you're overweight and you're a vegan.
Right.
Guessing, I know who you voted for. I bet you wore your mask in your car.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Like, why is it? It's like clearly society is worshiping false gods because all these people have to they can't just say like, well, I like this, but I like that. Like people ask me what my politics are all the time. They really want to know.
Oh, God.
And I'm like, I think, transgender couples should be allowed to defend their marijuana farms with fully automatic weapons. And so,
I love that.
Yeah, people are like, well, what does that even mean? Which side are you on? And I'm like, I'm on my side. I'm on a side that makes sense. Like, I actually think about these things individually. I don't just buy into the whole list and go, yep, that's me. Like, let me go get my hair colored purple. Become a vegan. Like, why? Why do that? Like, independent thought is cool. Like,
dude, that's the best thing I've ever heard.
Not cool.
Yeah, that's the best thing I've ever heard, dude. I believe transgender couples should be able to defend their marijuana farms with their fully automatic weapons.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah, you know what I mean? That's it. Rob a marijuana farm?
Oh, my God, dude. Have you seen the slight detour? Have you seen the documentary called Sasquatch on Hulu?
No.
Dude, it's about He's a journalist who is working as a trimmer on a cannabis farm in the Emerald Triangle.
Okay.
And the Emerald Triangle's nuts, man. Like, there's a lot of territory that's run by the Hells Angels. A lot of people get murdered, never seen again up there. It's crazy.
I'm shocked.
So yeah, exactly. So he gets this one night. He's telling this story that these two tripped out guys who had probably been smoking crack, working on their cannabis farm that was like a few miles away, came storming into the cannabis farm that he was at. Saying that they found a dude, or like two guys had been ripped to pieces by a Sasquatch in a cannabis farm.
Awesome.
And it's just all about the mayhem of the cannabis grows up there.
Yeah, and I'm sure all these fucking dope heads are like, oh my God. I can see them believing it too. Like,
oh yeah, why not, dude?
Yeah.
But man, so awesome to hang with you, brother, and I really appreciate you, everything you do, your wisdom, your insights, and all. I kind of want to go. There's an Osteo Strong down the street from where I live in Studio City, and I kind of want to go check it out, just for fun.
Yeah, there's one in Studio City. Let's talk offline. Let's get together with Osteo Strong.
I would love
do
that.
Do an X3 workout. I can show you.
I love that.
Strong. Yeah, let's do it.
I would love that, bro.
All right.
Definitely, man. You're the man. Dr. John Jaquish. Hey, brother. Where can everybody find you?
So, everyone has trouble spelling my last name, so I made it easy. My website is drj.com, DOCTOR, the letter J.com, and there's links to. It's just a landing page, and there's links to X3, Fortigen, my Instagram. I'm most active on Instagram. I just like the platform better. Like, I can do more, on Instagram than I am doing on Facebook or whatever. So I suggest following me there. Also, I put some YouTube videos out every once in a while. I try not to be like episodic with what I have to say, because it's more like when I put the whole argument together. Also, because I'm saying things that people have never heard before, I got to be really careful that I didn't miss a key detail or leave something out.
Sure.
Or if I present it in a way, like when I talk about carnivore nutrition, I say, look, there's arguments on both sides, with vegetables being the panacea and meat. But I do know there is a body of research that shows two things will drive the longest life. And these factors are uncontested completely. And that is high levels of strength and low levels of body fat are the two greatest indicators of long life. So is it veganism that's going to make you lean and strong as possible and as lean as possible? Or is it carnivore? And, the answer is obvious. So, that's how I got to my conclusion. It's, I don't like hurting animals or anything. And I understand why people don't want to do that, but that's just life. Like, animals consume other animals. When you die, worms eat you. You gonna cry about that too?
Well, we're trying not to let worms eat us, aren't we? By
I'm sure.
Putting ourselves in coffins and fucking
they get
cremating ourselves. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Just put my fucking body in the forest somewhere, dude.
Sure.
Just put this thing in put it back in the earth, man, where it fucking came from.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why not?
Feed the my trees. Ashes in Lake Tahoe. I always like that place.
Yeah, I love that, dude. Well, man, I really appreciate you and your time.
Thanks,
everybody, check him out. If you haven't already, the X3 bar is fucking awesome. I've turned a handful of buddies onto it. They're like, does it work? I'm like, dude, it's the best thing I've ever bought. And then they go and get it, and they're like, dude, this thing is the real deal.
I appreciate that. That's great.
Yeah, man. I wouldn't say I don't fuck around. Like, I don't have time to fucking pump products that don't align with my beliefs or my lifestyle. So when I say something works, it's fucking just because I've experienced it firsthand.
Yep.
So you're the man, brother. I appreciate you. Hey, everybody. I hope you guys got a lot out of that. I sure did. Lots of love to you all. Check out Dr. Jaquish. That's about it. I'll see you guys on the flip side. Lots of love, y'all. Peace.